Why do people hate Tau? Find out in this episode of Dice Club. Welcome to this episode of Dice Club, guys. We're going to dive deeper into Tau and talk a little bit why people hate him. My guest Matt here, he's back by popular demand. He does have some people that want to hear what he has to say about Tau, which is great. But before we get into it, I'm going to ask you to hit that like, subscribe, notification button. Really does help the channel grow, and I like to thank everybody who's done so already. Also, just want to give a shout out to Kyle, who was the winner of our billboard. He was the member that we chose. Kyle did ask me just to do the recess one and graffiti his name on there. Just Kyle was here. So Kyle, here's your shout out on the channel. And if you're interested, please check out membership. Go to the link below. It does say membership on it. You can, if you like what I do and want to support a building channel, that'd be awesome. I would appreciate it. All that being said, all the bills are being paid. Let's get into it. Matt, the biggest question that everybody wants to know, why is Tau hated so much? And I can tell you why I hate him. But you're a Tau player. Why do you get hated on so much?
It's two things. I think it's partially the lore and partially the rules. The lore is, Tau are we're better than you, ha ha ha.
Right,
you
exactly.
suck, you're uncultured and uncivilized and da.
Right.
And yeah, I get that rubs people the wrong way. Totally get it. The rules thing.
The whole greater than thou attitude.
Yeah, people don't much care for it. I won't
Not at all.
There's also the rules part of it, which is that Tau have always been a very relatively long-range army. They've always hit relatively hard. And the downside of that is if I go first and you make a tiny mistake in deployment, you leave something out a little bit more than you should have, it's gone.
Right.
It's completely gone.
Right.
There's no chance.
Right, exactly.
And that sucks, right? That does suck.
Yeah.
I admit, that part's not great.
Between the lore aspect, like you said,
yeah,
which is the greater good, and they're all that.
They're diplomatic.
They're the 1%. Yeah. They're the elitist.
Well, you only talk to the elite. There are plenty of working class Tau, I'm sure, but
are there?
Well, I mean, somebody has to build all the guns and the robots. Right?
Yeah, now it is Votann.
Well, the Votann are building their own guns and robots. I still got to build my Tau gun.
And you're right about the army. I know when I first got into 40K, and I got into it in the beginning of 8th edition. So it was not fun playing Tau because Tau was actually pretty solid, and they'd shoot me off the board pretty easily.
It's the cycle, they come up and down.
Yeah, I'm like, this is horrible. The lore is bad. It's not fun playing.
Yeah.
So that would be the answer, really. And if you guys have other answers of why you hate Tau, leave them in the comments below, because I for fun. We just want to, and I want to build a hateful community. Look, Tau players hate the faction. Don't hate the player.
Nah, they're used to it. They get it.
Yeah, the Tau players. Exactly. they're Tau players are used to hate, and they are hated. It is really. The other thing that I will tell you this, besides the shooting aspect of it, before we get off the subject, besides the shooting aspect of it, I think that the drones. Back in 8th and 9th edition, I know we talked a little bit off camera about 8th and 9th.
It made them deceptively durable.
It was when I put all these guns into everything, and I'm only killing 2 drones. It was not a feel good moment.
No, admittedly, it was worse in 8th, because in 8th edition it was you just had a feel no pain on your drones,
right.
And you only ever did 1 damage to a drone in 8th.
Right.
So you could regularly have times where it was just looks like I'm rolling dice hot today.
Right.
Therefore, your army does no damage.
Exactly.
In 9th, they changed a bit where you had to assign the wounds to the drones because they're part of the units.
Right.
Which I think did something for it, but because they were gated wounds, which is the big appeal of Tau, in 9th edition for the rule there, was the problem people had, because you'd shoot at a Riptide with your, whatever the guard giant gun is called.
Right.
And I would go, that's great. You kill a shield drone.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. That was not fun.
Yeah, you don't even bracket the thing. It's
even when you're like when I start, and I was guard, and you start and you put a lot of shots into a unit to try to kill the drones off, and like you said, your dice are hot, so you're saving everything, and now your drones aren't dying, And now when I put my Volcano Lance into him from my shadow sword,
That's naturally when I fail to save. Yeah, you kill the drone.
and I kill the drone. Exactly.
And it rubs a bit of salt in the wound to go, of course, 2d6 damage will definitely handle that marker drone. You got it.
Exactly.
It's gone.
So guys, leave your comments below. Be respectful, please, because we do have Tau players that do watch, and I do like Matt's one of my buddies, even though he plays Tau. I'm allowed to hate his faction.
Yeah.
I just don't.
In spite of all evidence, yeah. No.
Exactly. So then we let's switch to the army rule. Hey,
Yes.
Open up your face, man.
I lean. I don't know.
Let people see your mouth, man, when you talk.
It's the army rule.
So let's talk about the army rule. And so, what is their army rule now in Tau?
Army rule now is for the greater good, which is the guided unit, observer unit rule.
Right.
Where whenever you shoot with a unit, another unit gets to be selected to guide it, and as long as it's something they both can see, then the one unit gets +1 ballistic skill.
Gotcha.
And it also affects the detachment rule in a positive way, and it has other effects with some rules. Sometimes units will give out bonuses to things they guide.
Right.
One of the enhancement gives out a bonus to things they guide. Some units, like stealth suits, give out reroll 1s to things they guide, and other things like that. But broadly speaking, it probably needs an FAQ. There's been a running question since it was previewed about the two schools of thought, I suppose, of a unit can't have shot before it is selected to guide, and a unit can have shot before it is selected to guide. And rules is written, there is no strictly correct answer to this question.
So wait, back that up. So either you are able to shoot.
Let me set the scene for you.
Yeah, set the scene.
So I have 3 units.
Right.
First one would like to shoot.
Right.
I can say this guy wants to guide it.
Right.
In theory, there are 2 ways this can go. Either, so this happens, great. First unit is guided, awesome.
Right.
Now I want to shoot with this unit that did the guiding. The first school of thought is it cannot shoot.
Right.
It cannot use it can shoot, but it cannot be guided. The other school of thought is that, well, I could shoot with it first and then use the guided unit to be the spotter for a different unit. And you can conga line down. And I think most players really expected in the first major pass at the rules they did a few months ago, 2 months ago, they were expecting an FAQ, and we didn't get one.
Right.
Which leaves that kind of question up for debate still.
So as the rule's written, how's the rule written?
The rule is written to not really have a clear answer to that question, because it asks if they are eligible to shoot, and strictly speaking, after a unit has shot, it is still eligible to shoot. It is not eligible to be selected again.
Right.
So technically speaking, eligible to shoot could refer to a unit that's already shot.
Not really, because they're not eligible to shoot anymore.
By the rules written, they are. It's messy. It's a hot debate.
Well,
and
yeah, I can see that, but in the core rules, if you shot already, you are no longer eligible to shoot. Right?
I think technically rules written they are.
I don't think so. But again, that's the debate, right?
Yeah.
That's the debate.
It's very technical, this or that. I've been playing it as a unit can't be guided and also observe.
Right.
Because I feel like that's probably the way it was meant to be.
I would agree with you.
And it makes sense in my head.
Right.
I've been kind of out of tournaments on accident. I've been busier at work recently, but I haven't seen how it's been ruled in tournaments, really. Right. That being said, I would be pretty surprised if it was intended to be the other way.
Yeah, knee-jerk reaction, just based on what we're talking about. If it came up in a tournament that I was TOing, and I do actually TO tournaments, I am part of GW's TO support, I guess, program. I'm in that as well. So rules is written. I can see what you're saying, but I think we go back to the eligible to shot. He shot already.
I haven't looked into it too much. It's some technical this or that.
Yeah, I think you're playing it right. But again, I don't have the man. We're just talking about this live, so I don't have the rule in front of me that we can.
No, we can go I've only got the thing.
I think you're playing it right.
It's a big Reddit argument. I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah, Tau players. I know that based on this conversation, some people are going to feel strongly about that.
We do love arguing.
Yeah, put it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Play style from 9th to 10th. So let's do this first. When you playing in Tau in 9th edition,
Mhm.
is it different than playing Tau in 10th edition? Because we know that a couple things. We know 10th edition is a different game.
Yes, very much so.
Very different game. So, and we know that everything now gets covered essentially because there's more terrain on the board. But
Tau are one of Tau's, it seems like at least, one of Tau's big things they do is pretty much ignore cover.
right,
Because they have such easy access to the ability to ignore cover with marker lights, anything I need to ignore cover will ignore cover.
right. And that's what I was going to. We've played many of these games, and ignoring cover is actually what Tau does pretty well.
Tau is very good at ignoring cover. They're better than everyone else in the game at ignoring cover.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the play style in your thought process? What's the play style going from 9th and 10th edition?
So in 9th, the big thing to do, because you had Mount Ka or Kayun to pick, most competitively successful lists, for lack of a really good term, I guess,
Right.
were always playing Mount Ka, and they were playing a fast army with high turn 1 kill potential.
Right.
It was all about using that massive movement boost, moving up and just shredding whatever was in front of you so that your opponent didn't have anything to do next turn, really, is the big thing to do. I always enjoyed the faster Tau playstyle, the move up into their face really fast, put up something that you can afford to lose for them to take,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and then just blast.
The trade game always benefits. It's like guard, dude. It benefits Tau.
I have big guns back here,
Yeah.
and I have a squad of fire warriors up here, and I don't want to lose my squad of fire warriors, but you got to kill something, and it might as well be the fire warriors.
Exactly. If you lose Fire Warriors, you're not upset about
It's
it.
not the end of the world. If you're forced to put your melta guns into a breacher, I don't really mind.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
I'll take it. You know, it's fine. And in changing to 10th, they released the only detachment we have right now is the Kayun detachment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. As a theory, there's going to be more detachments. We know there's going to be more detachments.
Yeah, for sure.
There's likely a Mount Ka detachment. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made a Kayun detachment.
Right.
They're two halves. You got to have the other one if you got the one. Right.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other, so they have to be there. I don't know if I would have started with the Kayun detachment were I in GW's shoes releasing their decks, just because it's really rough to not have a rule for 2 turns.
Right. Yeah.
That's especially the 2 most important turns, 1 and 2. That's tough.
Now, just to kind of counterpoint that a little bit, we'll talk about in a minute, is the data slate change.
The big points drops.
The big points drop. So it's like with Death Guard, we weren't able to do a lot of things because we didn't have enough on the board. Now you have a little bit more on the board, a lot more on the board for Tau, actually.
Yes, very much so.
But before we do that, so 10th edition also, the change from
drones
fixed secondaries to tactical secondaries, how does that play with Tau?
Fairly well. They didn't include the secondaries that were like do melee stuff, which is good because I just couldn't do those.
Right.
But some of the secondary cards are pretty well because usually they're about kill something or move somewhere.
Right.
And Tau are fairly fast, so move somewhere is not the end of the world.
Right.
And Tau are Tau,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
kill something usually isn't the end of the world.
Exactly. Exactly.
So they've been pretty reliable for me, at least. I've had 100-point games in 10th edition. Right. I can't really. It's happened. It's happened at events. I mean, against other lists. Even before the data slate, I had been modestly successful. I was 2 victory points away from placing second at a GT.
Nice.
Pre-data slate Tau. I was actually very annoyed. My opponent really spiked his feel no pains, drove me insane. But not important in this instance. What's the word?
Yeah, so fixed secondaries, because being able to play the secondary game.
Yeah, is a big thing.
I thought was pretty good for Tau last year, or in 10th edition or 9th edition.
Oh, 9th edition Tau were amazing at secondaries
because I
could kill anything I wanted.
Yeah, engage on out fronts, bring it down, anything you really wanted. The current fixed secondaries that we have today, if we want to play Tau, I think can still play that.
Oh, they play them quite well.
Very well.
Yeah, no problem.
You just have more fun playing. So in your opinion, let's just kind of touch on that for a minute. In your opinion, fixed secondaries better than tactical secondaries for Tau?
Depends. I would say broadly no. But if you're playing against, just because the lower point potential is not great.
Right.
That being said, if you're playing against like knights or a really vehicle heavy guard list or something, or any other list where you can very reliably score one of your secondaries, you could take somebody's playing Hero Hammer to the extreme, you can play Assassinate, right? I mean, anything like that, yeah, you're going to have an opportunity to do well with secondaries, with the fixed secondaries. But I would personally probably stick with tactical cards unless in extreme circumstance.
Right. So play style, how do you play them? What's your play style for Tau?
I've always played very fast Tau.
Everybody listen who's around, who goes to tournaments and stuff or events around us, who watches. Matt's about to give away his secrets. You see mine every week when I'm playing Death Guard, so I'm not hiding anything. So give away your secrets, Matt. No, I'm just kidding, dude.
I've always played very fast Tau, and I've had I see Tau kind of as a play style of decision-making, intentional points of loss is kind of a way to think about it.
Yep.
And it's been very successful for me in the past. I've had great tournament successes on Tau in the past. And broadly speaking, I build my lists in such a way as I have units to give away,
right,
and I have units to keep. And the units to give away, I will very readily give away.
Right.
At the GT, I was talking about game 2. My opponent had a big, giant Space Marine 500-point transport with 250 points of Terminators inside.
Right.
And I went turn 1, my Piranha moves 9 inches pregame, 14 inches up, and it charges your tank.
Right.
And will my Piranha survive? Absolutely not. My Piranha is gone.
Right.
That being said, you know what my Piranha will do? Will stand on top of a tank for a turn and be inconvenient for you, and you have to kill it now. You have to answer the Piranha.
Right. Exactly.
You can't ignore the Piranha anymore.
Exactly.
And I found great success in that, since Tau have so many cheap, fast units, and also a decent selection of slow, very hard hitting units like the broadsides, and some of the tanks aren't really slow, but they're they're not particularly durable.
Right. Exactly.
And I have found success with just going, all right, I need something that goes fast, I need something that I can give away, and then I need to sit back here with my 72-inch range guns, and I need to go to town.
Right.
And that's gone well for me in the past.
And I'll tell you too, and Matt brings up a good point on this, is that you have to learn how to play that game. And I think where new players struggle, especially new players that want to play armies like Tau, or things that they're not willing to give up.
They don't know what to lose.
Yeah, they're not willing to give up. The Fire Warriors are what, 110 points,
less,
90 points,
90 points for a strike team, or 90 points for a breach team, 80 points for a strike.
Right, so they're not willing to. They want to keep everything alive and sacrifice points.
I mean, my Piranha was 55, and it held up 700 points of models.
Exactly, and I think that's in any 40K game, guys. This is actually a pretty good lesson. Is any 40K game that you're playing, you have to be willing to play that trade game. And Tau, I think that does that.
Tau's good at trading
very
up.
well.
Tau can trade up pretty well.
For sure, absolutely. And like you said, holding up. And I think that's the biggest part that people don't realize. We're getting off the Tau and going into more 40K. But I think that's the biggest thing people don't realize is that if I can tie up a unit like you just did with that tank for a turn, knowing with a 80-point Devilfish.
55-point Piranha.
So whatever it was, a 55-point Piranha.
Very cheap.
And you're like, oh, I'm going to kill something else while you're messing around with that Piranha.
You got to deal with it. You can't ignore it.
Exactly. So that's something that I think if you're a new player, you got to learn that trade game. Watch people that play a lot and play. Just get the reps in and start learning what you can trade, what you can't trade in.
Tying things up is very big on Tau as well.
Yeah.
Because of how vulnerable you are in melee on Tau, there is a lot of value in just, okay, what can I do to make you move at me slower?
Right.
What can I do to keep you over there?
Exactly.
And I need you over there so I can be over here where my guns are most effective.
Exactly. And dude, that's the other thing. Real quick, I'm gonna touch on that. That's the other thing with screening. Tau plays the screen game very well.
Yeah.
And they used to play the screen game very well with drones.
Yeah.
But now they're not. We can't do that.
I used to drive people insane by having drones spaced exactly 10 inches apart in the back line so they can't deep strike. You have 40 points is completely blocking your deep strike.
Exactly.
Just nothing. You can deep strike nothing because I have 40 points of trash in the back.
So here's the other thing. We'll talk on drones. Drones have changed
substantially
in 9th edition to 10th edition.
Oh yeah.
So what was the change in drones?
In 9th edition, you added drones to units, and they were their own little dudes, and they had wounds, and they had saves, and they had melee attacks technically, and some of them even had guns.
Right.
And in 10th, a drone is basically just a checkbox you hit on a data sheet.
Right.
And you can play the models if you want, but they don't count for visibility, they don't count for coherency, and they don't count for any other purposes.
It would just be the rule cool.
Yeah, if you want to play the drones, you can. Although, admittedly, they expanded the amount of drones you can take because they're not actual things anymore.
Right.
So I don't even know if I have enough drones. I might have to, go buy some boxes of crisis suits because they come with a bunch of drones or something if I really want to play all these drones they got.
So what do they do now, Matt?
They're really just tokens. They just kind of take your data sheet and they just kind of go, all right, I'm going to staple an extra line of text onto the bottom. And that's really it. Or they might say, I'll add 1 to that number, or I might give you a new keyword. Some of them have more rules. The really big one is that the Guardian drone that used to be just on Shadow Sun and Pathfinders, maybe, can now be played on Fire Warrior teams, which is pretty good.
And what does it do?
Gives -1 to wound. Great rule.
Yeah, it's a nice rule.
You take a penalty to your roll. Awesome. Very good. Big fan, in fact. That being said, I miss my drones.
A lot of top players right now are
I miss
getting tissues out. And
they'd always welcome me home. Coffee on the table.
Data slate changes. Let's talk about that.
Massive points drops across the board.
They were
in almost some really insane point drops. The tournament list I played, which was playing a lot of the best units, the ones that didn't really get a ton of changes, went down 310 points.
Which is
it's a lot of points. It went down enough points to add a whole other Crisis Suit squad into my list, and I was already playing 2.
Yeah,
and
Crisis Suits are actually pretty good.
Crisis Suits are very reliable, or have been reliably good for many editions.
Yeah,
and I suspect they will be far into the future.
They're like I would say Tau.
They're like my Terminators.
Probably got the more points dropped than even Death Guard did.
Well, to be fair, Tau was pushing. Tau was not doing great. Tau was fighting for that last place spot as far as competitive win rates go.
So let's real quick, man. Let's talk about this competitive stuff. They were at what 33
or 34, I think, and now they're at a 52 or 53, I believe. So they're right in the middle of the pack right now.
Right. So they're in a sweet spot that Stu likes to.
GW says they like 45 to 55, and they're smack dab in the middle, pretty much. So yeah,
data slates definitely data slate change points drops. Definitely helped Tau.
Yeah, I know. So I was starting to wonder. I was like, geez, will I fit all my models in my bag? It was a big thing. I was like, oh my gosh.
Now you got 2 bags, carrying 2 bags with you.
I mean, even for our game later, I have a model sitting on top of my bag right now off camera because it didn't fit. There's not enough space.
So let's get into the pros and cons. Okay, let's start on a negative note, right? Let's start. What are the cons of Tau? What are you finding that you hope changes when you get a codex?
I really am not in love with Kalyun as a rule at all.
Right.
I didn't super love Monk Ka either. I kind of miss the olden days when I just had a rule and it was always on, and I could just have it.
Right.
You know, I didn't love this. Your rules get worse over the course of the game in 8th edition, or better later in the game. I don't love the turn 1 and 2. I can't use there's a stratagem I can't use turn 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. I can't use some of my enhancements don't work turn 1 or 2, or they do less turn 1 or 2. One of my enhancements does literal nothing turn 1.
All right, so let's talk about that real quick. I've read maybe a handful of Tau books lore.
Yeah.
And only because they were involved in other books like System.
Yes, they were loosely associated with the Death Guard Crusade or something. Yeah, and you read about them killing some Tau.
Yeah, they weren't specific.
They're big punching bags in the lore,
right?
Yeah.
So Kalyun.
Kalyun and Monk Ka are in lore. They are the 2 primary tactical philosophies of the Tau. When you are, oftentimes you will be, like commanders will be known for how good they are at Kalyun or Monk Ka. And they mean things. Monk Ka means the killing blow, and Kalyun means the patient something, and I'm probably supposed to remember it, but I can't.
That's okay.
And I mean, they mean, so basically, Monk Ka is get in, go fast, and Kalyun is patiently wait your turn.
Okay, so
bide your time.
So Kalyun is the one that they now...
The only one you have access to right now.
So, well, that makes sense. You actually answered my question.
Yeah.
Wait patiently to strike. So that's why waiting for the 2 turns where you have nothing,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden in
it's a very flavorful rule.
the 3rd, 4th,
I just don't love it.
5th round. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that until literally right now, where you just explained that to me, and maybe to some people that are watching.
Hammer and Bolter on Warhammer Plus, I think, or was it Hammer and Bolter? What's the one with the Tau in it on Warhammer Plus?
I don't remember.
It's pretty good. You should watch it.
I did watch
It's got
it.
a Manta. It's great. Yeah.
I actually seen it all. I'm all caught up except the last episode of the new one that just came out.
Yeah.
I can't think of what it is. My mind just went blank. But the Salamander and Sister one.
Yeah.
Oh, Pariah.
Oh yeah.
Pariah Nexus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Actually, I was going to ask where that not doing anything for turn 1 and 2 may come from.
Yeah.
But if it comes from Kayun, then
being patient. Yeah, it's a very flavorful rule. That doesn't mean it feels good to play.
No, it doesn't. But everything that they've done so far, and let's give credit where credit is due, right? Because you know how there's a lot of in their community which will be upside with GW because of things. Well, if you're a lore guy and you play like we do, we just play for fun. We like to have fun with this stuff. Having a faction feel like it does in the lore is actually pretty cool, in my opinion. Does it feel great, Matt? No. Sometimes it doesn't feel good.
If we're talking lore, my models should be 1,000 miles away, and I should be shooting you from over the horizon.
Well, I mean, essentially, you have pretty long range guns. So
I should be bombing your planet from orbit. I shouldn't even be involved. This is way too dangerous for my taste.
Exactly. So yeah, that's some of the cons. Is you don't like the kind of. But we both.
There will be a change with the date whenever the codex comes out, and that's I think coming early next year. I look forward to that, especially because there's going to be probably 5 or 6 plus right. Probably
based on what
based on the Tyranids and the Space Marines.
Yeah.
As of time of recording,
yeah, exactly.
There will probably be 6 plus, and I think some of them. I really hope there's like a Farsight one that lets me maybe takes. I really want my fusion blades back. Right. They've been gone a long time, but I'm optimistic I can get some fusion blades with some crisis.
Right. So far we haven't seen Space Marines Codex yet. It will be out. I think days.
The points costs are up on the app right as of this moment.
Yeah, and well they updated it. The points costs are up. And the new Space Marine Codex is up. You just obviously it's locked down until you get the code.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard getting the code yet.
Yeah, exactly, because it's not out yet. But I will say this: based on what we're seeing in some of the previews and what we're seeing in the app, if you just kind of flip through it and see what's there, and watching all the pre-release stuff, and seeing the Tyranids Codex, and going through that, I think so far in 2 codexes. I like what I'm seeing personally.
Yeah. I think the codexes are really cool.
I think the codexes are good. I think they're not as like GW's been talking about, and I know we're going off a little bit, but GW's been talking about. Some of the stuff that we right now, this may not be a half hour long. This might be a little.
Or we're both ramblers, so I get it.
But I think that with the codexes that we're seeing is they're not as killy as everybody likes them to be in 9th edition, but.
I think the game was too killy in 9th edition.
I agree. I totally agree with you. I think we're in the minority in this, though. I really do. I think being able to play the game is more fun than just having your Tau unit literally shoot everything off the board in turn 2.
Admittedly, there are times.
That's going to happen, dude.
There are times when I still do plenty of damage. I've had games against Knights where my opponent goes, oh, my knight will be fine. I've got rotate ion shields. And I go, kill that knight, your turn. They're like, you just killed 1,000 points.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
so it happens. And it's still going to happen. And it's still going to happen in 10th edition. I just when we're looking at the Space Marine Codex and we're looking at the Tyranid Codex, I do have hope for all the other codexes coming out based on the 2 that we're seeing. Right? I think GW is doing a great job matching these with the lore.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not thrilled, real quick, and me and Nico will come back with Space Marines later, but I'm not.
That's out of my wheelhouse. Yeah.
I'm not thrilled on the fact that we don't get like Salamander or White Scar's actual chapter rules.
I mean, I don't get my Seps anymore.
But you know what I mean. Well, we'll talk about that another time. Pros? Did we talk about pros already?
Oh, there's a lot of pros.
That's Sam, man.
Big gun. Big gun is a great pro. Very big gun, reliably big gun.
Right.
Storm Surges are one of my favorite models everywhere. I like them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Are they good? Probably not. Well, they might be okay.
Are they good for the points? Well, we'll get into that on the next.
For the point, they're pretty pretty fun.
We'll get into that on the next one.
They have a strength 26 gun.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I've had people go, what's the strength? And I go, oh, 26. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it wounds everything in the game on twos. Yeah. Everything you can possibly put in front of it. Unless you're putting like a Warlord Titan in front of me, it's going to wound it on twos.
Right.
And I don't even know. It might wound a Warlord Titan on twos. I don't know what the toughness is on a Titan.
I don't know either.
But I've never looked into that. But like, yeah, people will be like, oh, this is my 90s T12. I'm like, that's great. I need twos. I'm rerolling ones. Exactly. AP on your invuln. And it's like, all right, great. You know, it's there's just, they have really big things. The aesthetic, I think, of Tau is a massive pro. People love, I kind of got into it because, I got into it first because I got a really good deal secondhand.
Right.
Somebody was selling out a Tau and they were like, I want basically nothing for 1,000 points. And I was like, you got it, man. Right. Worst case, I like painting minis, I'll paint some minis. Right. Played one game and I was like, oh shoot, they're fun. You know,
a lot of people like that Gundam style.
Yeah, they're very clean lines and sharp corners, and their weapons. I get to confuse Space Marine players, which is always fun because they have plasma rifles that don't overload, and they have ion blasters that do.
Right.
And they're always like, your plasma rifle, are you gonna overcharge it? I'm like, no. It doesn't do that.
It doesn't do that.
It doesn't overcharge. It does 3 damage though. It's pretty good. It's better than yours. It's, I don't know what to tell you. And I mean, it hits on 4s. They've always been a very high flavor army because there's a lot of, they've always worked together a lot in lore. They team up to bring things down. You know, marker lights, the rule marker lights, which we still have, which is the marker drone, things will give the marker light keyword out to things, has always been in lore that they stick you with like a flare, and then everybody else shoots at the glowing flare, and that's why it gets rid of cover and things like that because it lights you up. And that's always been a cool thing aspect for it. I always came so close. I've always talked myself out of it, of making like, I'm happy I did because the rule's gone now, but I came so close to making so many extra little bits. You can do so much extra stuff with Tau. I still have a tank someplace that you see on the channel sometimes where the back door falls open on it all the time. Drives me crazy. That thing's got LEDs in it that I don't use because they don't show up on camera. But it's a lot. It's got a lot of room for very flavorful stuff, and I like it a lot.
Gotcha. Shooting, and it's really good at shooting.
Oh, it's amazing at shooting. It's always been one of, or even often the best shooting army in the game.
It really has. Between that and AdMech.
Well, AdMech certainly lost the throne recently. They're doing doing different stuff now. I think me or Votann are probably fighting over it anymore.
Well, Votann's still
in the
struggling.
And they're still working. They're still figuring it out. Yeah, still times are tough for young space.
So let's go with rated, overrated, underrated.
Overrated.
Overrated. What is everybody play that you feel may not be worth the points, or it doesn't do what it should do based on its points?
I'll say I don't know if it's not worth the points. I don't think it competes favorably with other units. I'll say that.
Let's put it that way.
It's sacrilege. You should know. I don't love the hammerhead right now.
Right.
With the railgun. The problem, losing the dev wounds chain.
So wait, let's do this. How many points is a railgun? Or how many points is it?
Every Tau tank of that size is 130 points.
Okay.
And my thought is, why would you play a hammer when you can play a Skyray right now?
Right.
Competitively, at least. If you're playing it for fun, railgun's funny. It's a big gun. I love it. You know. But yeah, it's strength 20. It gets a reroll, but cool. But
it's on force.
Everybody hits on force.
Right. I'm just saying.
Yeah. It has heavy, so you can, if you don't move, you hit on 3s.
Real quick. Everybody does hit on force. If you're not a top player, everybody does hit on force. So.
Except commanders.
Yeah.
Commanders hit better. But everybody else hits on force.
I guess we should have said that in the beginning.
I mean, it's a Tau thing.
That could be a pro. That could be a con. I mean, everything hits on force.
Yeah, but you can give out +1 pretty reliably. You can give out, it's nothing to the world.
Yeah, but Space Marines hit on 3s.
But I hit on 3s and I gave it +1. In fact, I can hit a Space Marine from 72 inches away. I'd like to see him try. But anyway, what was I saying? You got me going.
I know, overrated.
Hammerhead.
130 points, dude, ain't bad though. What's the stat line?
The stat line, it's a tank. T7, 14 or T9, 14 wounds, 3 up armor.
You just feel, dude, I gotta stop you for a minute. You just feel that there are other units.
There are other units that do its job better, I think.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
I think a lot of people are playing it still because they're still thinking about 9th edition when the railgun was a scourge. It was the railgun puts something in, it dies, was the railgun in 9th edition. And I have a healthy respect for 9th edition railguns. But 10th edition, the Skyray gunship fires 3 high AP, high strength shots. You're wounding knights on 3s with either of them. Any high toughness tank, you're wounding on 3s with either, with the most of the medium toughness and low toughness tanks, you're wounding on 2s with the railgun. But most players, you're not too worried about the medium low toughness tanks because you can just blow them up your Tau. It's the kind of thing the thing you do.
3 shots versus 1 shot is always good.
The swing is the downside. That 1 shot tank, if you roll a die and up comes a 2 or a 1, your tank just did 0 damage. You paid 130 points to watch a 2 come up. You get a reroll for free, sure, but if you roll another 2, well, that sucks, man.
And you better hope it's sitting on an objective scoring you points.
Because otherwise it's doing 0. Nothing. Right. Completely nothing. And the other tank can also do nothing.
Yeah, but you just better odds.
The odds are a lot lower, yeah. I mean, admittedly, you don't get your +1 against vehicles and monsters, but you're making 3 shots, you're on 3s, you get exploding 6s later, you can play up these 26s because you have 3 tries to go looking for those 6s later. Plus, they can take identical secondary guns.
Right.
Sure.
Underrated. What's the most underrated faction? Underrated unit in the Tau army? I'll
give you 2 answers.
All right.
I think amongst many players, it hurts my heart to see people are not playing their Devil Fishes. Play them.
Why?
They're 75 points. They get 2 Seeker missiles. They are T9 with 14 wounds or 12 wounds. They're good.
Right.
Their points per wound and body ratio are absurdly low.
What did you say the points were?
75
points.
And they are decent toughness, high wounds.
How fast?
Very fast, 12 inch.
12 inches, okay. And play the board pretty well.
100%. And they can take a squad of breachers with them, and they kind of have to because you can't play a transport with them. Right. Play a squad of breachers with it. Your breachers can deploy out, and now you get to take breacher shots at something, and breachers are amazing.
So why aren't we seeing those on the table? In your opinion?
I think more casual players, and I don't mean to bash it, often underappreciate the value of transports. Because I also often underappreciated it before I learned. Yeah, it might blow up, and might.
It's funny you say that. I'm going to interrupt you real quick. It's funny you say because I think in 10th edition, transports are huge.
They're amazing.
I think transports are. I think what they sat down as a company and said, you know what do we?
Especially the higher toughness.
Yeah, what can we do to bring transports back in the game? Let's make 10th edition, and all of a sudden now you're like, okay.
With the higher toughness, if I can force you to put bolt guns into a devilfish, you're doing nothing.
Right, exactly.
You're wasting bolt gun shots.
Exactly.
Even if you put 8 wounds on a devilfish, I don't care.
Right.
You just did what? 40 points worth of damage? Fine.
Yeah, exactly.
You can have it. It's all yours, man.
Because with the breacher units, what, 50? What was the breacher unit?
Breachers are 90 points.
All right, so 90 plus your 75, so you get 160 points.
165 points. You've got 20-some wounds of guys.
Right.
You're making 20-something shots. You're making seeker missile shots. You're making, and you can get ignore line of sight shots on devilfish.
More importantly, though, besides all that, I shouldn't say
more importantly, you can't put bolter shots into my fire warriors.
I'm gonna say more importantly, in addition to the fact that you're moving up the board 12 inches, and you're holding them. You're playing the mission. You're either getting engaged on out front. You're either getting secure no man's land. You're getting something.
Storm hostile objective, amazing for that. Move up, drop 10 fire warriors. Fire warriors are OC2.
Yeah, exactly.
I just put 22, 23 OC on an objective from 12 inches away.
Right.
Okay, sure.
I'm happy with that.
Your Terminators aren't going to take that from me. Let's do it.
Exactly,
I don't care.
Exactly. All right, we're getting in close to crunch time, maybe.
Yeah, we're running past the clock. My bad.
What's that? No, we're good.
And stealth suits. Play stealth suits.
Oh, stealth suits.
I love them.
Good. What?
They give a reroll. They give a reroll on someone. They're cheap. Play them. They're 60 points.
60 points. How much are they? Three
stealth suits. They get -1. They have stealth. They get -1 hit all the time.
Did they get the what's it called? The scout?
Yeah, they're infiltrators.
Oh, so you can deploy them anywhere.
They're 60 points, and they get a melta gun. You should play it.
That's actually pretty good. Actually, that's really good. To be quite honest with you.
They get a melta equivalent, and they get a marker drone. So they give out that ignore cover rule. Plus, worst case scenario, I just get to go, all right, stealth suits are going to live up here.
Right.
And your turn 1's infiltrators move, your turn 1 scouts move, you can't move towards me. Or if you're playing knights or something, and I really need you to not get a sight line turn 1, I can go, all right, I'm going to sacrifice some stealth suits in the way.
Right.
And, it's not the end of it's not points per thing. They're cheaper than Space Marines.
Right.
And they have a melta gun.
Right.
And they're hitting on 4s because they're Tau. But
not to mention, again, we're going back to the playing the mission in 10th edition, because in 10th edition you have to play the mission, right?
In 9th edition too, people never appreciate it.
Dude, drawing a card that's beneficial to having stealth suits on the table is
even not doing that. Even just playing it for the aspect of I would like to kill more enemy miniatures. I'd like to take more Space Marines away.
Right. Exactly.
Just on that aspect, getting that reroll 1s to wound on any unit you need, any of them,
right.
No matter the distance, no matter the range, nothing. When I was playing a Storm Surge, and I can go, all right, my Storm Surge has reroll 1s to wound on all of its 60 shots.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
I don't mind.
But we excuse me.
Yeah.
We're just not seeing those on the table. I don't understand. It seems like that'd be something that
usually some people play in 1 or 2. I am an advocate of 2 or 3.
I gotcha.
And I like them.
Strats.
They're fun. Strats.
Playable. So let's besides going through every strat in the game.
Yeah, the highlights.
Give me like something you use all the time.
Stim injectors.
All right,
all the time. Stim injectors is whenever you, in any fight phase or in your shooting phase, whenever one of my battle suits is selected as a target of an attack, I get to say they have a 6-up feel no pain.
Okay, which is nice.
Oh, it's real nice. It's super nice. And
believe me when I tell you, 6-up feel no pain. People sometimes. So new players, listen to me. Look at my face. So listen, 6-up feel no pain is actually. I know people when I was new, I didn't care about it. I was like, oh, it's a 6-up. It's a 1 in 6 chance rolling on dice. But believe me, it happens for whatever reason more than you think it does. And having that ability to maybe stay alive an extra couple of rolls, it's actually really good. So don't just brush the 6-up feel no pain aside.
Even if, as an example, let's say you're shooting at crisis suits. Crisis suits are 6 wounds with their shield drones.
Right.
If you have a 3 damage gun,
right,
I have to make 6 tries at this 3 damage at you killing a stealth suit. I should get 1, right?
Right.
You now have to put a whole extra shot into this stealth suit. And if you're firing a 3 damage gun, you're getting probably not a ton of shots, right?
Right.
Even if you're getting a decent number, you're probably only getting maybe 15, 20.
Right.
And of those, you're probably getting, 9, 10 through?
Exactly.
If I force you to go from 2 to 3 per suit, and I'm making 4-up invulns against them, well, you went from killing 2 suits to killing 1.
Right, exactly.
And the suit, they carry a lot of guns. Every battle suit in my army is just a man covered in guns.
Right. So moral of the story is don't just brush aside the 6-up feel no pain.
Yeah. Other than that, you have some great stratagem. You have a great stratagem, Strike and Fade, amazing strat.
Yep.
Move, shoot, move.
Yep.
Very good, big fan. 2 CP hurts my heart. Wish it was 1, but I accept that it can't be that cheap.
Which one you don't play all the time? Which one do you think is? The
one.
Or are they all good? In your opinion, are they all good?
Some of them are too niche.
I gotcha.
So point blank ambush, can't use it on turn 1 and 2. Very good. I need to be within 9 inches of you. Can't use it on turn 1 or 2.
Right.
A lot of boxes I gotta check. Yeah, it's a lot of boxes I gotta. Can't be 9 inches within 9 inches of you. It's closer than I want to be.
Right.
Exactly. And
there's no way Tao's like that. That would be one like I'd be like, you know what? Maybe don't need.
When it comes up, great, excellent rule when it comes
exactly.
up. It's amazing when I get to use it, but when I'm using it, I'm not usually happy.
Right. Yeah.
With exception, there are times when it's later in the game. I go, my crisis suits run at you really fast, and congratulations, they now have bonus AP against you.
Right.
Excellent. No notes. But yeah, and the other one, photon grenades, I like, but
don't play it a lot.
Not many units have the grenades keyword. And
situational.
Well, it's only Fire Warriors and Pathfinders, really. And I just kind of wish a couple suits might have it. Or you could play an upgrade or something. If there was a support system, maybe. Because right now you can take weapon support system, battle suit support system, shield generator. And if you could have maybe just one that's this unit gets the grenade keyword, I'd love that.
Right, yeah.
I'd be a big fan of that. Because this rule is really cool. Tau in lore carry flashbang grenades, basically. And when you try to charge them, they chuck flashbangs at you. And they're like, all right, here you go. Good luck.
Exactly.
And it flashbangs you. And in the game, in 10th, you take a battle shock test, and you get -2 to your charge.
Right.
And if you fail the battle shock test, you get -2 to your charge. Well, I might have just made your charge a whole lot worse.
Exactly. Gives you the ability to maybe take you off the table.
And it's after you declare your charge. You can't change your target.
Right.
So
that works out.
Okay.
Enhancements. Let's talk about enhancements really quick.
Enhancements. Some of them don't work on turn 1.
Cayune.
Some of them don't work on turn 2. Or some of them do, but so it's
So what do you bring all the time? Let's give me
the time.
Give me the ones that you feel are a necessity.
Every list I've put together in 10th has played a commander with 3 Crisis Suits, and the commander's always had Exemplar of the Cayenne.
Okay, what does that do?
It makes the army rule active on round 2.
I gotcha.
It does nothing on turn 1. It lets you use your army rule on turn 2, which is a lot because your army rule is really good. And I've been playing a Crisis Suit. It hurts my soul to play the Cyclic Ion Blaster squad because you just lose one whenever they shoot, and it hurts my heart. I can't take it. So I've been trying to make missile pods work, which aren't bad, but they're not as good as the Cyclics.
Right.
But that's really good. Other than that, everything else feels very optional. If I had to pick a second one, I'd pick 3-unit Devastation. I've been messing around with Strike Team with an Ethereal with 3-unit Devastation, and they give out lethal hits basically when they guide something, which is fine. But that being said, a lot of my guns are pretty high strength, so lethal hits is kind of fine.
Right.
Because if I'm making strength 12 rail rifle shots and strength 14 missile shots, I mean, do I need lethal hits?
You always need lethal hits.
I mean, I won't turn it down.
Exactly.
It's only 20 points, and if I have 20 points left, it's I'm not going to try to trim some to fit an extra unit.
Exactly.
I'll just throw it on somebody and go great.
So give me probably for the new Tau players out there, or even for the people who are old Tau players, combo. Give me a combo. Like, what is a battery in Tau that you feel like? For us, it's Mortarion and Plague Burst Crawlers. Mm-hmm. You tell what's one that you think you haven't found anything that's more effective than that specific battery.
On a per point level, I have had great success with Breacher team, led by a Cadre Fireblade, gives them an extra shot in all their guns. Mm-hmm. Give him a my words. I like words. You give him a gun drone. You give the Breachers a gun drone. You give the Cadre 2 gun drones. This unit in a Devilfish moves up, drops on the Devilfish onto a unit on an objective specifically. I got to check a couple boxes.
Right. Yeah.
Especially if it's turn 3 at this point. If it's turn 3, I will now make against you 30 Breacher shots, 9 gun drone shots, 3 shots with the character. All of these are sustained hits too, on 3s, rerolling fails to hit. If I guide them with stealth suits, then I'm rerolling 1s to wound. I have just made a wild number of shots. It might be reroll wounds. I can never remember. The Breachers reroll 1 of them.
Right.
And
right. So,
one of the, I thought, what? It might be wounds. What? They reroll something.
But 30 shots plus the extra.
Plus 9 extra, plus 3 from the character.
And sustain hits 2.
Sustain hits 2.
Which is super good.
Yeah, you wind up putting like, I put 30 plus wounds onto things before.
Yeah. And what's the strength?
Strength,
or it's just weighted dice.
Weighted dice, yeah.
It's just weighted dice.
If you're looking for really big,
that reroll. I don't mean to interrupt, but that rerolling wounds. If that rerolls wounds instead of hits.
I mean, I have I could check.
No, okay. It's okay. Either way, so we'll talk about both ways. If that rerolls wounds, and guys, we have the cards, but we're not going to go check it out.
It's far away. I can't be.
But if it rerolls wounds, that's pretty good. If it rerolls hits. That's even better.
I want to say they reroll 1s to wound natively all the time, but they reroll all wounds against models on objectives.
All right. I
want to say that's what it is.
Either way.
Yeah.
Either way, 30 shots, sustain hits 2. On average, you're going to get another 12 shots.
I've also had a real soft spot for Enforcer Commander with Crisis Squad and Missile Pods on each of them, which gives you a decent long-range unit. They move 10 base, so they're pretty fast. And your squad of 3 is less than 300 points. If you play the enhancement, it's about 300. I believe it's 300 points on the money. But less than 300 points. You're making, 26 strength 7 AP 1 damage 2 shots at 30 inches.
That was in what?
That's a commander, any commander actually, right. And a Crisis Suit squad. The Crisis Suit commander gives you real 1s to hit as well.
Right.
But honestly, I have not found myself wanting for real 1s to hit because Shadow Sun has yield Captain Aura.
So that was a combination where you get, what was that, 30, 29 shot? What was that combination?
That one is 26 shots at strength 7 if you win.
The Crisis Suits.
Yeah, at damage 2 as well.
This is the one that has We talked about it last time. I can't remember what that.
They have Armor of Contempt with the Enforcer Commander.
But that's the one that kicks out so many shots. 27 shots on average, or what was it? 29 shots on average.
They kick out 26 shots all the time.
Max.
Oh,
what was that? Last time we were here,
yes,
we played our game. We talked about a unit of 6. Is that crisis or broadsides? That was broadsides.
We were talking about the crisis suits. Broadsides can't play 6. We're talking about the potential of a squad of 6. The really big combo to do, and this is what all the competitive lists do, but it hurts me, is usually you only play a squad of 3. But in theory, if you played a squad of 6, you could make, let's see, 60-some strength 8 AP 2 damage 2s with sustained hits 2 on 3s real 1s. The downside of that is afterwards you make 22 hazardous rolls.
That's right.
That's a lot of hazardous rolls.
That's right. I know we talked about it, and that's putting a commander in with that.
Yeah, you can't play crisis suits though.
Oh, you can't. Okay.
I mean, you could, but you shouldn't.
Yeah. All right. I got you. All right. I think that was anything you want to add about time.
No, we're way over time.
We are way over time. We try to keep these within a certain time. We are way over. I think we're like 40 minutes.
Like 45, I think.
But guys, if you have any questions or anything, just hit the comments below. Me and Matt, I mean, we literally talk almost every day.
Pretty regularly.
So, we can do a follow up if there's more questions. You can just hit us up on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, YouTube comments, whatever. But I think thank everybody watching. We will have a bat rep coming up. Probably we're going to film it today. I'll
be wearing the same clothes.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be wearing the same clothes. We will, I'll probably get it up this weekend, or early next week. But guys, thanks for joining us on this one. As always, God bless and peace out.